What's up, everybody? I'm Ryan from Fight Fluency, and today we have a legendary UFC fighter on ahead of a risky, tough challenge this weekend at UFC 291. His name is Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. How you doing, Stephen?
Doing good, man. Here in beautiful Utah, Salt Lake City, actually 1,300 feet above it, but ready to rock and roll, man. Got to get out here a little early to get acclimated, but ready to rock.
Got to stay prepared. And, I already thanked you before this recording happened, but I'm super grateful to be interviewing today, man. I'm a huge fan of you, and I know you're jam-packed. You got a huge fight this weekend, my man. How you feeling?
Oh, man, feeling good, man. Preparation for this fight has been a ton of fun, and these are the kind of fights that I like, with Kevin Holland and, of course, my Michel Pereira. It's going to be a really exciting. It's going to be a barn burner, that's for sure.
Oh, no
But
doubt.
preparing for somebody like him, man, it's fun. It's fun to be able to try to break guys down like him, because that's what makes it fun for me.
For sure. I was going to say, because you fought former champions and you fought top contenders. Now you're fighting a guy who might be a little lower in the rankings, but like, I'm not kidding. And you know this, there's truly no one like this guy in the UFC. So what's your mindset like going into this fight, fighting a dude who does backflips and things like that?
Well, I like it because it's going to be exciting. He's an exciting fighter. We both are. So, to be able to face somebody like him and to try to break him down and try to figure him out and sometimes be able to adapt mid-fight is, like I said, it's what makes it fun for me. It's the ability to be able to watch this guy on film, make preparations, but also mid-fight might have to make preparations, because I don't know what he's been working on. He could do something different out there. So I think that's what makes it so exciting for me, and preparing for him. Of course, I got high level strikers and guys like that back at the gym that I've been training with, and good wrestlers, because there's been so many times where guys say they're going to stand up and strike with me, and then next thing you know, they're shooting in, trying to take me down. So I got to be prepared everywhere the fight goes. You know, um, there's one thing I think about though, especially leading up to the fight, is preparing myself, right? Being comfortable with being uncomfortable, and not looking for the knockout. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'll always visualize my hand being raised after every fight. And that's what I focus on. Focus on the hardest 3 5-minute round fight ever. And I go ahead and have that in my head mentally, so I'm ready for it. So, man, it's been a lot of fun, and we've all had a great time preparing for this guy. And I know he has too.
When you're training for the three, because obviously this isn't a main event 5-rounder, when you're training for the 3-rounders, is it some stress off you thinking it's a shorter fight, or do you still do more rounds just to make sure you're conditioned?
Yeah, man. Anytime I have a 3 5-minute round or a 5 5-minute round, I always do the championship rounds. So preparing for this fight, everything that I've done has been 5 5. If I can go hard for 5 5 rounds, the 3 5s will be a little bit easier. But I do prefer the longer rounds, right? I do prefer that, because there's a lot more that I would like to get done during a fight, and sometimes it takes a little bit longer than most to be able to adapt to a fighter, right? Maybe it takes mid to the second round to be able to figure this guy out. And somebody like Michel Pereira, who will, you know, out of nowhere do a backflip or run off the cage, and might be a little bit different. But like I said, man, I'm here for the fun of it, man. And I started my UFC career in 2012, and I've been along for the ride ever since. So I'm just blessed to be where I'm at.
For sure, man. I like that you said fun of it, because you brought up a little earlier your last fight with Kevin Holland, which I honestly believe, and I'm not just saying this because you're on the call here, not enough people talk about it, and it should have been fight of the year. It's insane. So I actually wanted to ask you about that. How did you feel after that fight? And you're saying a lot of guys say they'll stand with you, but then they try to take you down. But when things got a little messy on the ground, Kevin said, let's go right back up. How was that fight for you?
That was so fun, man. And like I said, I want to be the most exciting the most exciting fighter out there, and to be exciting for the fans. The 2 fights before that against Bilal and Gilbert Burns, it was obviously they did what they needed to do to win, but it wasn't fun for the fans. There was a lot of booing going on, and I'm known as an exciting fighter, win or lose, and that's what I want. That's what I'm be known for, right? To be an exciting fighter. So it was great to be able to go out there and face off against Kevin Holland, who was a puzzle in himself. With that 81-inch reach, he was 6'3", 6'4", flying knees. The guy's good everywhere as well. So it was cool to be for him to say, and a lot of respect for him to say, all right, let's stand back up, man. I didn't expect that at first, but we kind of had that gentleman's agreement in the beginning. But eventually, there, like I said, he started to shoot in the fourth round. So it's like, wherever the fight goes, I got to be ready for it.
For sure. And you know what? I don't think any sane UFC fan is ever going to miss a Stephen Thompson fight. I made a video about this a little while ago, right after the fight. It was actually, I'm sure you remember this, but during the fight, you can hear your dad call out to you, low kick to the body. And almost like 3 seconds later, you cracked him with that, and it was super effective. So I wanted to ask you about your dad, because obviously he's played a huge role in your career, but how often do
Yes.
you hear him yelling out commands, basically? And when you do hear him, are you always like, I got to do this instantly? Or how much do you value his call outs?
Oh man, that's why we learned to tune in to everything that he does, right? Everything that he says. And that's one thing that really upsets, especially for our amateur fighters. If you don't listen to him, that's a big problem because they see a lot of things that we don't see out in the cage, a lot of tells maybe we don't see as well. So whenever they call something out, you got to be so tuned in on what they're saying that you're able to do it right then and there or when it feels right. Correct. There's been so many times where my dad has called out something and I didn't do it. But when I went back and watched the video, it's like, dude, that technique was there all day. Why did I not throw it? And sometimes it could be like just a feel thing. Like maybe it just didn't feel right to throw the technique right then and there. But it was there, when I fought Jake Ellenberger and my dad said, spin, I knew exactly what to do. It was there. When he said body kick, because I was going for the head a lot. In that fight with Kevin Holland. And when he said body, boom, I knew it was there. So yeah, if you want to upset my dad, don't listen to what he says in the fight. He will jump on you, man. And it doesn't matter if you're a pro or an amateur. He will dog you after the fight.
Man, your dad is low key like a cheat code to have in your corner. He's giving you all the right advice. It'd be hard not to listen to the guy.
I know
Um,
it's funny. It reminds me of that movie. What was it? Hugh Jackman, when he plays when he like shadows the robot.
oh
You know
yeah,
what I'm
yeah, yeah.
talking about?
I think
I
so.
forgot
Yeah.
what that was called. Blue Steel. I don't remember what it was called. But it reminds me of that, man. Like he's the one with the controller, and I'm just the guy out there. He's controlling me,
That's great.
Uh, so yeah, man, you have to have that with your coach, right? Because they're a part of the game as well. They're why you're there. You're a team when you're out there. You hear your coaches, and you got to try to do with it exactly what they say when they see it. Because if not, you miss that opportunity to maybe finish the fight. So yeah, man, you got to learn to listen to your coaches. That's for sure.
Well, maybe after this big win over Michel Pereira, I know obviously looking at the welterweight division, I'm going to assume you want another shot at that belt. You want to hold that gold. So I had to ask you about the current champ, Leon Edwards. How do you feel about his skill set, and how do you think you'd power up to him if it came to that day?
Oh man, I think it would be a really exciting fight. Most of the guys that he's faced have been grapplers as well. So at the beginning, he was known for his striking, but now he's known more as an MMA fighter. One of the only guys to take down Kamaru Usman and control him that he did in the first round. And nobody's been able to do that. And he did it, which is amazing. So you got to it's not just if I can outstrike him, it's I have to be a better MMA fighter than Leon Edwards. And that's the kind of mindset you'll have to have, especially facing off against him or preparing for him. You got to be ready for the grappling, you got to be ready for the clinch, his elbows, his knees, his tough Muay Thai. He's got a crazy head kick. Obviously, you saw against Kamaru Usman. There's no tell to it. So I think that would be an amazing fight, exciting fight for the fans. I know Colby Covington, I think, has got his third title shot, which is ridiculous. But I think he's got the fight next. So I gotta keep winning, and I think after maybe a good win after Michel Pereira, they'll give me somebody in the top 5. But we'll see.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Colby, because infamously he's called you out a couple times. How do you, when it comes, you're such a nice guy, right? So I don't really see you have problems with other guys, but a character like Colby Covington obviously gets under a lot of people's skin. Do you prefer to fight a guy who maybe annoys you a little bit, who you don't like the most, or does it not matter? Is it just business?
It's business for me, man. I go out there and try to face the best fighters in the world. And it's like an anime. Like, who can say that? Who can say that they face the best welterweights in the world? Right? That's like, I don't know, man. It's just something cool that I can tell my grandkids years from now. But it doesn't matter. And you know, a lot of guys, their tactics, that is their tactic. They're, you know, the Conor McGregors of the group. They try to get out there and they try to get under your skin before the fight. I don't let it happen, man. I know it's exactly what they're trying to do. I've been fighting since I was 15 years old, competitively, you know, kickboxing and MMA. So I know I sometimes it has a reverse effect. Like, I eat them up with niceness, you know? And sometimes they get frustrated. They're trying to make me frustrated, but they get frustrated because they can't make me frustrated. You know what I mean? I mean, he's called me choir boy and all kinds of stuff, but I got a lot of respect for Colby Covington, man. He's changed his game, and it's worked well for him.
Well, that was a super professional response. I don't know if I was, you just killed me with kindness there. I was expecting something juicy a little bit. Oh man, since we're on the topic of champions, speaking of champions, you were just training and coaching with a former champion, Conor McGregor, on The Ultimate Fighter. I wanted to ask you about that because that was pretty cool to see your cameos in those episodes. How was that whole experience?
Oh, it was a ton of fun. And to be honest with you, I wasn't out there to be a guest coach. I wasn't out in Vegas to be a guest coach. I was actually out there filming the Jose Cuervo commercial with Kevin Holland.
Oh,
You know, because and that's what Jose Cuervo, they're one of the sponsors of the UFC, but me and Kevin were having full-on conversations, which was that was their idea around their next commercial, is to have these two guys fighting. They're having conversations out there, who's going to bring the lines, who's going to bring the drinks, and then they chat after the fight. So they were like, these guys are it, man, because they're the ones that are actually having full-on conversations. So filming was over. We ended up, you know, with our YouTube channel, me and Sweet Tea, we decided to go to the PI to get a little footage, you know, a little content in with Aljamain Sterling, some other guys. And next thing you know, I hear somebody call my name. I look to my left, and there's Conor McGregor getting a massage. So I'm like, "What's up, my man? How you doing, man?" And, you know, he was cool, man, very cool. And anyway, just, you know, we chatted for a little bit, and we went on and did our business, and we were actually supposed to leave that night. So me, and my brother and one of my managers went to go get some dinner, which my management also manages Conor Paradigm. And we get a call from Conor. I get a call from Conor, say, "Hey man, we'd love to have you as a guest coach." I'm like, "Man, say no more. I am there, my friend. Let's make it happen." You know, it's one of those things you can't pass up. So, I mean, the clout and everything that he's done for our sport, why not go out there and let's do it? So it's really cool to see his mindset and his teaching ability. Very good teacher, inspiration for those guys that are up and coming. And just to be a part of that was just awesome.
well, I'm glad to hear you're saying he's a great teacher and a good coach, because there's a bit of, I don't know if you saw it. Obviously, I'm sure you watched the episodes, but there was a viral clip of you talking to Conor and whatever you guys were talking about. And then you said to him, "Are you going to help coach today?" or something like that. And all the commenters were going crazy because they felt maybe he wasn't the best coach. So I just wanted to ask you, I'm glad to hear it, but was he a good coach, and how was he like with the other fighters?
He was great, man. I mean, he kept a positivity with those guys that most people couldn't keep up with, right? Especially as a teacher. It's very taxing, man. But he made sure that he was there for his guys and any questions for his guys. And most importantly, after the losses that his guys took, he was the positive guy, right? He was there to pick his guys back up and say, "Let's go." And that's what a leader has to have, a coach has to have for his team. And that's how you know, even though it's a show, that he cares about them, you know? And one thing that my dad taught was people don't care how much you know, they don't want to know how much you care, you know? And he had that. He had that, man. So when I saw that and I felt that, especially when I was doing some training with the guys, he was there inspiring me. He fired me up, man. I was like, "Let's go. Let's keep working, man." So that's what he had. And a lot of times, maybe the camera didn't get a whole lot of that or enough of that of Conor, because I think that's a big part of the whole show was Conor being there for his guys.
Mhm. Well, you used the word positive a couple times, and if we could describe you in one word, I think positive is a pretty solid word. And that actually leads me to my next question: is, because you're such a nice guy and you're so down to earth and you're so real, is it a weird conflict of interest almost to be this super nice dude who you are, and then on Saturday have a little bit of a simulated death match? Do you feel like you have to switch something off in your brain? What happens when you enter the cage? Do you feel like you're a different guy, or what goes on?
No, man. I think it's, I've always been a very competitive person, but I do it in a fun way and in a very honorable, I think, way, which I think sometimes the MMA fight sports are lacking that honor and integrity. Even out there in a fight, maybe I step on. I think when I fought Jeff Neal, I stepped on his foot and he fell down. He fell down, right? It's like, I don't want to win this fight because I accidentally stepped on his foot, right? I think it was, what movie was that? I think it was the movie Troy, when Brad Pitt was fighting, Troy's main fighter. He fell by tripping over a rock. He's like, I don't want this rock to be my victory. I want to fight you at 100%, right? So, there has to be a little bit of a switch there to go from, hey, to I got to get focused here, because if you don't have that switch, you could get injured, right? It's like a software switch that you have to have in your head and in your spirit, because if you make one mistake, then you're out, right? And I like going out there thinking of it as a life or death situation. I think that's what brings the best out of me. But you look at it as just a competitive sport, and not as, all right, I'm about to do battle with this guy. And if I put my mind and it's just a sport, in the moment, I don't think you'll care as much. You won't be as of aware or react the same. So you almost have, like, which was really cool, and I can relate, and most fighters can relate. When Izzy Adesanya fought Kelvin Gastelum, and he said, "I'm prepared to die," before he stepped out there, and I forgot which round it was. Like, I'm prepared to die, and then you have to put your mindset in that, right? You have to put yourself there. So, yeah, I can turn it on and off while I'm out there. There's been many times where I've high five. I think I have more high fives in an actual fight than anybody else out there, any other UFC fighter. It's funny, man. But yeah, dude. But still, at the end of the day, I have all respect for my opponent.
Man, what a real answer. I've never really heard a fighter talk about honor and pride. And that really shows you're a true martial artist. I can really, really respect that answer, because we all love the trash talk and all that stuff. But sometimes guys cross the line to sell fights. And I don't think I've ever seen you cross a line. I mean, you had a perfect opportunity in that fight to take advantage. And you're like, no, I want to win this fair. So, man, you got all of our utmost respect. Really, that's awesome.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it, dude.
No worries. And before I let you go, I know you're a busy guy. I had some rapid fire questions, and I know you're quick and witty, so I know I could get them out of you quick.
Let's go.
All right, let's go. First one, top 3 best UFC strikers of all time.
Of all time, definitely Anderson Silva. I think he's one of the top. I actually got to train with him. Izzy Adesanya. And to be honest with you, when it comes to fight IQ, I would have to say, I wouldn't say best striker. I guess he would say to be the best MMA fighter. But striker, let's go with Chuck Liddell, old school Chuck.
Wow.
Old school Chuck, dude. He was knocking everybody out.
That's a
Wasn't
great
too
answer.
flashy, but he was knocking dudes out, bro.
Yeah, super effective. That's a great answer. Okay. My next question for you is, do you believe in ghosts? And if you do you have any paranormal stories?
Oh, man. I don't have any paranormal stories. I wish I did. I wish stuff like that would happen to me, but I don't have any, man. Man, that's a hard one. That's a tough question, to be honest with you. I don't know. I don't know if I do believe or if I don't believe in them, because I've never seen anything, right? It's always been on TV and it's always been blurry or watched out. I haven't had that experience yet. So I can say, I don't know yet.
Okay, fair enough. I hope the ghosts don't hear this and start ruining your life.
I know, dude. No!
Hope they ignore that one. Okay. Next one. Bare knuckle, yay or nay?
Nay. I will not do bare knuckle.
Okay. You're not a fan. You don't like the no gloves?
No, I've been to it, but it's like, I don't know, man. There's a lot of guys that have retired from MMA and have gone to it. And I see these guys' faces. You see their hands afterwards, and they say, oh, man, boxing's so much easier. I was like, yeah, the training's easier, but the fight is very brutal. I've been to a few. I mean, blood squirting out of this dude's head the entire first round. Ends up getting headbutted, and it was like squirting the whole time. And these guys' hands are broken up and swollen afterwards. I'm like, I've broken my hands twice. I don't want. Hopefully, it doesn't happen again.
Jeez, yeah, I feel like we're a bit desensitized with the gloves a bit, but you guys can still. Do you think you can crack harder because you're wearing the gloves?
Yes, 100%. I've heard that from a lot of bare knuckle fighters. Like these guys don't throw as hard for fear that they'll break their hands. So
Hmm.
when you have a glove on, you do tend to throw harder.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's a little bit speaking of bare knuckle, but kind of leads into my next question. How do you honestly feel about professional MMA fighters getting into street fights?
Um, if it's happening on the reg, first off, I think I don't agree with it, man. I don't agree with it. For somebody like me, whenever I go out, I pick and choose where I go. I don't go to places where I know where I have to defend myself. I go out with good people who I know if anything does throw down, they'll have my back. But at the same time, it's like, why end up in these places when you know stuff's going to happen? You know, there have been a few situations where things have gone down, and I've eaten them up with niceness. I apologize. I'm sorry. Blah blah blah. But sometimes as fighters, we have this ego, and we feel like we have to stand to that ego because I'm a fighter. People then will think I'm a wimp because I back down. I fight for a living, man. I don't want to do it out there in the street. I get paid to do it, and nowadays people are more apt to shoot you or stab you than to fight honorably. So I'm really am aware of where I go, and and I always go out with good people if I do.
Beautiful, beautiful, cautious, safe. I love it, man. That's a good answer. This one might be a bit of a tough one, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I know you're one of the kings of the UFC, but if you could make one change to the UFC, what would it be?
One change, and I think this is something that I think everybody would benefit from. It's that battle before the war, the weight cut. It has traumatized and messed up so many fights. People not making weight. You know, um, People passing out. I was one of them, and I'm still going through it. That's one of the dreads of a fight is that weight cut. It's terrible. And the older I get, the more difficult it is. And if it was me, man, I mean, when I fought kickboxing, nobody cut weight, right? And if they did, it was like 2 pounds, 2 or 3 pounds. And the fights were just so much better. You weren't fearing that the weight cut was bad or the rehydration process didn't go as planned, which I've gone through that as well. Having to go through the rehydration process, and maybe I didn't drink enough water, I get the electrolytes back in me, but my legs were dead first round. I've had that happen a few times, and it's terrible, man. And that never happened when I fought kickboxing. Didn't have to cut the weight. I wish there was a way that we could get rid of that and somehow, make that a thing. And then I think the fights would be more exciting.
I agree. I don't know what the solution is. Would it be more weight classes, or because all these guys are fight like you're a big guy yourself, but then you look at guys like Kamaru Usman, for example. How the hell is that guy making
Oh,
170?
I know, man. That's the thing. You had Tyron Woodley,
Mm.
he was walking around over 200 pounds. And when I saw him on weigh-in day, I'm like, oh, this guy's not that big. But when I saw him the next day, it looked like he ate another human being. I'm like, how is this even possible? It's crazy, man. And we have to go through that. And if you ever see people, I put my brother Sweet Tea through a weight cut. I don't know if you saw that on the channel, but I suggest you guys go look at it. I put him through a weight cut. He had to make 265, the heavyweight. He was probably 280, 285 at the time, had to cut to 265. And he did it, you know, and was able to lose fat. Like when we start that dramatic weight cut, we're already leaned up. We're
Mhm.
already lost as much weight as we can, and then we got to lose more, you know? So it's terrible, man, that the stuff that we have to go through.
For that, some guys look horrific on the scale. I remember Conor McGregor at featherweight stuff. It's like, my gosh.
God.
Oh my goodness. I don't I this sport, maybe the weight cutting is not as bad. I know they have weight classes, but I don't think weight cutting is really an issue. And I'm gonna ask, power slap, yay or nay?
Nay, I think that is the dumbest sport uh, for the athletes ever. I mean, these guys are losing brain cells daily doing that. And how do you practice that? You know what I mean? how do you even train for that? You condition your hand? Do you only work just one arm? I mean, these dudes, they're getting slapped over and over again. They're losing their hearing. They're getting concussed all the time. And it's bad when you had Forrest Griffin out there seeing these guys get knocked out. You just see him shake his head. He's just like, what is going on? No, definitely an A for me.
Okay, fair. If you,
I know now for the fans, it's exciting. It's like super exciting for the fans just to see people stand there and get knocked out. I think it'll be more impressive. They did this back in the gladiator times. There was one guy, I forgot his name, but what they would do, they would tie you sitting down to two cinder blocks or poles directly in front of each other. So you're at arm's distance with an opponent. You can't move anywhere, but you have to stand there and fight. But they would fight to the death. They would sit there and just punch each other in the face. I mean, you can block and stuff like that. And slap fighting, you can't even block. You can't block it, which is terrible. But I think bring that back if you're going to bring, if slap fighting is a thing.
No, that might be the next genius. I think if Dana White's listening to this, he's got to write that one. That's a good one right there. So because your striking pedigree, how good you are as a striker, this one's also another tough one. I'm sure you're going to answer this practically, but if you had to choose one strike to use for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Man, one strike is going to sound super corny, but it is the most technique thrown in any fight sport, and that is a jab. Yeah. The jab is used to set up all the other techniques. It's quick, it's fast. You can knock people out with good timing. It's so easy to fake guys up and down to the body, to the head. But the jab, if you didn't have the jab, the other techniques would be very difficult to fall behind it, to set up. So the jab is it, man. You got to have a good jab. If it's kickboxing, if it's MMA, or if it's boxing, the jab is number one.
Beautiful. Perfect answer. I got two more for you, and these might be a little tricky. Okay. I'm actually excited for your answer on this one.
Okay.
Would you rather fight Francis Ngannou in the street or prime Mike Tyson in a boxing match?
Oh, man. I would say Francis Ngannou in the street. Why? Because anything goes, right? I can bite you. I could find a weapon. So definitely, I would say Francis Ngannou in the street, right? Because if you fight Mike Tyson, I'm limited. I'm stuck in a ring with one of the hardest hitting mamma jammas on the planet in his prime, limited to his fight sport. At least if I'm fighting Francis Ngannou, I could pick up a chair. I can maybe find a weapon somewhere. I can run around, hide behind people. You know what I'm saying? I could run if I wanted to. But if you're in there with Mike Tyson with a hungry dog like that, ain't no way.
Well, it makes sense. That's a good answer. My last question to you before I let you go is, what does the whole concept of fighting mean to Stephen Wonderboy Thompson?
The whole concept of fighting, for somebody like me, I think it's a little bit different than most, because I grew up at age 3 in this sport, fighting being my life. All my brothers and sisters, my mom and my dad, my cousins, we were all fighters, man. We all trained the martial arts. So for me to go into competitive sports I think it's a little bit different than most who are just maybe one day sitting at a desk, who's been working this desk job for years and saying, hey, I want to be a professional fighter. But for me, man, there is no other sport like the fight game. Nothing. If you talk to every other, basketball players, football players, every other sport, they want to be the fighter. Why? Because when it comes down to it, if I wanted to, I can come into your house and take what you got. There's no other, you know this, there's no other importance as a man knowing I can defend my own, knowing I can fight, right? Everybody out there on that show, when a man wants to handle something, they want to fight you. They think they're big and bad. People don't know what they don't know. But for me as a fighter, it gives me more confidence knowing that I can defend myself and knowing that I can go into this room and probably take everybody out in it. You never know. Unless you've got a weapon or something, but there's no better confidence than that. but being a fighter and knowing how to handle it, right? Knowing how to handle that responsibility of being a fighter. I know guys who, train a little bit and go out there, and next thing you know, they're starting fights with people. There's the right way to do it, and there's the wrong way to do it. And the old saying, I don't remember the exact saying, but be a dangerous man, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Peterson said, be a dangerous man, but know how to control it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you do that, you'll have a lot of respect with the people that you take care of, your family. You become a good leader, knowing that you have that ability, and not being able to do it, or not, I guess, exerting that on other people. You know what I mean? It takes a lot of responsibility, a lot of humbleness. And I think the martial arts has helped me with that patience and modesty, courtesy, integrity, self-control, perseverance, showing indomitable spirit is what the fight game means to me. And that's why I think I like to teach. I'm the head kids instructor at Upstate Karate, and I like to give that back to them. Seeing these kids come in, with their head down, and by the end of that first class, their chin is up, man. You can see they have a whole different demeanor about them. And a lot of these kids have been training since they were 3 years old, and now they're in their 20s, man, knowing that I've had a positive influence in their life, and they can pass that on. No better calling.
Beautiful, man. What a perfect answer. You'd rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in the war, man.
It.
That's
That
beautiful, my man. Man, I really want to thank you for this. This is surreal to me. You're such an easy guy to talk to. And I really, again, want to thank you for giving me your time ahead of this busy fight week, ahead of UFC 291. Thank you so much, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I really appreciate it, my man.
Anytime, my friend. And hopefully we can do it again soon, maybe after the fight, depending
Let's
on,
do it, my man.
win or lose, we'll still jump on, we'll chat, bro.
Awesome, my man. Well, I appreciate you. Good luck ahead of this weekend. We're all cheering for you, and you got it.
Thanks, Ryan.
Peace out, brother.